I found the note on a Tuesday morning while looking for my reading glasses. It was tucked inside an old cookbook I hadn't opened in months. A piece of lined paper folded so many times it had gone soft at the creases. The handwriting was my daughter's. Small, cramped letters pressed so hard into the page that I could feel the grooves on the back. 4 words that made my stomach drop. I'm sorry for being dirty. My hands started shaking before I even understood why. I read it again, then again. The paper felt hot between my fingers like it was burning evidence into my skin. Something was very wrong with my Rachel, and I had missed it. My name is Diane Mitchell, and I am 72 years old. I live in Boulder, Colorado, in a small house at the end of Maple Street with my daughter Rachel, who is 21. We moved here together in early 2017 after my husband Frank passed. Heart attack. Sudden. One day, he was fixing the fence, and the next day, he was gone. Rachel and I packed up our life in Denver and came to Boulder for a fresh start. Smaller town, quieter streets, a chance to heal together. That's what I told myself anyway. That we would heal. I thought the hardest part was behind us. I thought losing Frank was the worst thing that could happen to our family. I was wrong about that. I was wrong about a lot of things. Rachel has always been a quiet girl. Even as a child, she didn't talk much, preferred books to people, spent hours in her room drawing or reading or just staring out the window. Frank used to worry about it, but I told him some kids are just like that. Introverted, thoughtful. She wasn't unhappy. She was just Rachel. After Frank died, she got even quieter. I understood that. Grief does strange things to people. She stopped going out with friends, stopped answering her phone, spent most of her time in her room with the door closed. I gave her space. I thought she needed time. I thought I was being a good mother by not pushing. Now I wonder if that space I gave her was the worst thing I could have done. Our house is small but comfortable. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that gets good morning light. I like to sit at the table with my coffee and watch the sun come up over the mountains. It's peaceful here. Or it was. The neighborhood is mostly older folks like me. Retirees. People who want quiet. There's a park 2 blocks away where I used to walk every evening before my knees started giving me trouble. Rachel's room is at the back of the house. Mine is at the front. We share the hallway and the bathroom, and most nights I can hear her moving around in there. The creak of her bed, the sound of her closet door, little noises that told me she was okay, that she was still there. I have lived a long life. I was born in 1945 in a small town in Nebraska. My father worked at the grain elevator and my mother took in sewing. We didn't have much, but we had enough. I learned early that you take care of your own. You protect your family. You don't ask for help unless you absolutely have to. I married Frank when I was 19. We had Rachel when I was 51. A miracle baby, the doctor called her. We had given up on children by then. Frank was 54. We were older parents, but we loved that little girl with everything we had. She was our whole world. And when Frank died, I promised myself I would keep her safe. I promised him too. Standing at his grave, I made that promise out loud. I will take care of her, Frank. I will protect her. I will not let anything happen to our girl. But something did happen, and I didn't see it. Before I go any further, I need to take a breath here. My heart is racing, just thinking about what I'm going to tell you. And I want to ask you something. Where are you right now? What city are you in? Is it late where you are? Or maybe it's early morning like it was for me when everything changed. Drop a comment and tell me. Let me know I'm not alone with this story. And if you're feeling what I'm feeling, if this is hitting something in you, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to hear what happened next, because I post a new story here every single day. Stories about protecting the people we love. Stories about finding the truth, even when it's buried deep. Now let me tell you about my Rachel and how I almost lost her. Rachel used to be different. I need you to understand that. She wasn't always this shadow of a person. When she was younger, she had light in her eyes. She laughed easy. She loved strawberries and old movies and sitting on the porch watching thunderstorms roll in. She had this habit of humming while she read, little tunes that meant nothing but filled the house with sound. She was gentle, kind, the type of kid who cried if she stepped on a bug. Frank used to tease her about it. He'd say, "Honey, you can't save every creature in the world," but she would try anyway. She collected injured birds, fed stray cats, brought home a 3-legged dog once that we kept for 10 years. After we moved to Boulder, I waited for that girl to come back. I thought maybe the change of scenery would help. New house, new town, new possibilities. But instead, she seemed to fold further into herself. She stopped humming, stopped watching storms. She got a job at the library shelving books, and she went to work and came home, and that was it. No friends, no hobbies, just work in her room. I asked her once if she was okay, and she looked at me like I had asked her to explain the universe. She said, "I'm fine, Mom," in this flat voice that told me she was anything but fine. But I didn't push. I should have pushed. The changes started small. So small, I almost missed them. She stopped eating breakfast with me. Used to be we'd sit together every morning. Toast and coffee. We didn't talk much, but we were together. Then one day she started taking her coffee to her room. Said she had things to do. I didn't think much of it. Then she started locking her bedroom door. I only noticed because one morning I went to wake her for work and the door wouldn't open. She called out that she was awake. Her voice was strange, tight, like she had been crying. When she came out 10 minutes later, her eyes were red, but she said she was fine. Allergies. I wanted to believe her. She stopped letting me hug her. That one hurt. I'm a hugger. Always have been. I like physical affection. It's how I show love. But Rachel started flinching when I reached for her. She'd step back or turn away or make an excuse about needing to wash her hands. At first I thought maybe she was just getting older, needing space. But it felt like more than that. It felt like fear, like she was afraid of being touched. I told myself I was imagining it. Old woman worries. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. She wasn't sleeping. I could hear her at night, pacing, moving things around. The floor in her room creaks, and I would lie in my bed, listening to her walk back and forth, sometimes until 3 or 4 in the morning. I asked her about it, and she said she had insomnia, trouble turning her brain off. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her skin pale. She was losing weight too. Her clothes hung loose, her cheekbones sharp. I tried to get her to eat more, but she just picked at her food, said she wasn't hungry. Then there were the showers. She started taking long showers, 2, 3 times a day. I'd hear the water running for 40 minutes, an hour. When she came out, her skin would be red, raw, like she had scrubbed herself with steel wool. I asked her once if everything was okay, and she snapped at me, said she just liked being clean. Her voice had an edge I had never heard before, anger, or maybe shame. I didn't know. I let it go. I shouldn't have let it go. People in town started asking me if Rachel was all right. The librarian where she worked, Mrs. Nguyen from down the street, even the cashier at the grocery store. They'd say things like, "She seems quiet," or "Is she feeling okay?" or "She looks tired." I made excuses. She's grieving her father. She's adjusting to the move. She's always been shy. I defended her, because that's what mothers do. But every time someone asked, it felt like they were holding up a mirror, showing me something I didn't want to see. I started paying closer attention, watching her when she didn't know I was watching. I noticed she avoided certain rooms in the house. She never went into the basement, never spent time in the living room. She stayed in her bedroom or the kitchen, and even in the kitchen she seemed nervous, jumpy. She'd look over her shoulder, check the windows, lock the doors even during the day. When I asked why she was so worried about locks, she said, "You can never be too careful." That phrase, "You can never be too careful." It stuck with me. One afternoon, I came home early from the store and found her standing in the hallway staring at her bedroom door. Just standing there, not moving, Her face was blank, but her hands were clenched into fists. I said, "Rachel, honey, what's wrong?" and she jumped like I had fired a gun. She turned and looked at me, and for just a second I saw something in her eyes. Terror. Pure terror. Then it was gone. She smiled, said she was just thinking, went into her room and closed the door. I stood in that hallway for 5 minutes, trying to understand what I had just seen, trying to convince myself it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. Deep in my gut, I knew it wasn't nothing. I found the note 2 days later, tucked in that cookbook like I said. "I'm sorry for being dirty." Those words burned into my brain. I read them over and over, trying to make sense of them. Why would she be sorry? Sorry for what? And dirty. What did dirty mean? Was she talking about something physical, something emotional, something worse? My mind went to dark places, places I didn't want to go, but I couldn't stop it. The note felt like a confession, like a cry for help written down because she couldn't say it out loud. I took the note to my room and sat on my bed holding it. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wanted to march into her room and demand answers. But I was afraid of what she might tell me, afraid of what I might have missed, afraid that I had failed her in some terrible, irreversible way. I thought about Frank, about the promise I made at his grave. I will protect her. But how could I protect her if I didn't even know what I was protecting her from? That night, Rachel came home from work and went straight to her room. I heard the lock click. I stood outside her door for a long time, trying to find the courage to knock, to ask her about the note. But I couldn't do it. Not yet. I needed to think. I needed to understand. So I went back to my room and I prayed. I'm not a particularly religious woman, but that night I prayed harder than I ever had in my life. I asked God to show me what was happening, to give me the strength to help my daughter, to not let me fail her. The next morning I made her favorite breakfast, pancakes with strawberries. I set the table and waited. She came out of her room looking like she hadn't slept at all. Her hair was messy, her eyes were hollow. She looked at the pancakes and then at me, and something in her face crumpled. She sat down and started crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears streaming down her face. I reached across the table and took her hand, and she let me. She didn't pull away. She held on like I was the only thing keeping her from drowning. I said, "Baby, tell me what's wrong. Please. Talk to me." She shook her head. "I can't." I said, "Why can't you?" She looked up at me and whispered, "Because I promised." Promised who I asked. She didn't answer, just kept crying. I squeezed her hand tighter. "Rachel, you're scaring me. Whatever it is, we can fix it. We can get through it together." She pulled her hand away and wiped her eyes. "You don't understand, Mom. I can't tell you. If I tell you, something bad will happen. Someone will get hurt." My blood went cold. Someone will get hurt. What did that mean? Who would get hurt? I asked her, but she wouldn't say. She just kept shaking her head. I stood up and knelt beside her chair. I put my hands on her shoulders and looked her in the eyes. I said, "Rachel, I am your mother. There is nothing you can tell me that will make me love you less. There is nothing so bad that we can't face it together. You have to trust me. Please, baby, please trust me." She looked at me for a long time. Her lips trembled. Her whole body was shaking. Then she leaned in close and whispered 4 words that changed everything. "He still has the key." I didn't understand at first. The key. What key? Key to what? But before I could ask, she pulled away and ran to her room. I heard the lock click. I stood there in the kitchen, staring at the empty chair, trying to process what she had just said. He still has the key. Someone had a key to our house. Someone Rachel was afraid of. Someone who could come and go as they pleased. My mind raced. Who had a key? I had one. Rachel had one. That was it. Unless someone else had made a copy. Unless someone had taken one. Unless someone had been given one. I felt the walls closing in. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. I stumbled to the sink and ran cold water over my hands, trying to calm down. Think, Diane. Think. Who could have a key? Who had Rachel been around? Who did we trust? My thoughts went in circles. The mailman, the neighbors, the landlord. No, none of that made sense. This wasn't some stranger. This was someone close, someone who knew us, someone Rachel was protecting, or someone Rachel was terrified of. I went to her door and knocked. Rachel, honey, open the door. We need to talk about this. Silence. Rachel, please. Nothing. I pressed my forehead against the wood and closed my eyes. I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. Do you hear me? I'm going to keep you safe, I promise. Still nothing. I stood there for 10 minutes, begging her to open the door, but she wouldn't. Finally, I gave up and went to my room. I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall. He still has the key. Those words echoed in my head, over and over. He still has the key. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I lay in bed listening to every sound, the wind against the windows, the house settling, the creak of Rachel's floor as she paced. And then I heard something else, something that made my heart stop, the sound of the front door opening, slow, quiet, like someone was trying not to be heard. I sat up, frozen, listening. Footsteps in the hallway, soft, deliberate, moving toward Rachel's room. I got out of bed as quietly as I could. My whole body was shaking. I crept to my door and opened it just a crack. The hallway was dark, but I could see a shape, a person, standing outside Rachel's door. Tall, male. I couldn't see his face. He reached for the doorknob, tried to turn it. It was locked. He stood there for a moment. Then he turned and walked away. I heard the front door close. I waited, counting the seconds. Then I ran to the front door and checked the lock. It was unlocked. He had just walked in. Like he belonged here. Like this was his house. I locked the door and slid the chain. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely manage it. I went back to Rachel's door and knocked softly. Rachel, it's Mom. Are you okay? No answer. Rachel, please. Finally, I heard her voice. Barely a whisper. Did he come in? I froze. Yes, I said. He was here. I heard her start to cry. I said, Who is he, Rachel? Who was that? She didn't answer, just kept crying. I stood outside her door until the sun came up, keeping watch, making sure he didn't come back. At 3 a.m, I made a decision. I went to the kitchen and picked up the phone. My hands were still shaking, but my mind was clear. I dialed 911. When the operator answered, I said, I need help. My daughter is in danger. There's a man with a key to my house, and I think he's been hurting her. The operator asked questions. I answered them as best I could. They said they would send someone. I hung up and sat at the kitchen table waiting for help, waiting for answers, waiting for the truth to finally come out. Because I knew now. I knew that whatever was happening to Rachel, it wasn't in her head. It wasn't grief or stress or insomnia. It was real. There was a man. He had a key. He was coming into our house, and my daughter was terrified. I thought about all the signs I had missed, the flinching, the showers, the locked door, the fear in her eyes. It all made sense now. Horrible, terrible sense. Someone had been hurting my girl, under my own roof, while I slept. While I made breakfast and worried about normal things, someone had been destroying her piece by piece, and I had been too blind to see it. I looked down at my hands. They were still shaking. But underneath the fear there was something else, something hard and cold and determined. Rage, pure rage. Whoever this man was, whoever had done this to my Rachel, I was going to find him. I was going to make sure he never touched her again. I was going to protect my daughter the way I should have been protecting her all along. and I was going to make him pay for every single tear she had cried, every single night she had spent afraid, every single piece of her innocence he had stolen. The police were coming. The truth was coming. And I was ready. I was ready to face whatever darkness I had let into our lives. I was ready to fight. Because that's what mothers do. We fight for our children, even when we're scared, even when we've failed, even when we don't know if we're strong enough. We fight. I grew up in a time when you didn't talk about bad things. You just didn't. If something terrible happened in your family, you dealt with it quietly, behind closed doors. You didn't air your dirty laundry. You didn't ask for help. You certainly didn't call the police unless someone was bleeding or dead. That's how I was raised. My mother used to say, "Diane, some things are better left unsaid. Keep your head down. Keep your family close. Don't make trouble." For most of my life, I lived by those rules. I kept quiet. I didn't make waves. I trusted the people I loved, and I assumed they would never hurt me, never hurt us. I was wrong. Silence doesn't protect anyone. It just gives the monsters more time to do their damage. My father was a hard man, not cruel, but not warm either. He worked long hours at the grain elevator and came home tired and dusty. He didn't hug us, didn't tell us he loved us, but he provided. That was love in his language. Food on the table, a roof over our heads, shoes that fit. My mother was the one who held us together. She cooked and cleaned and sewed, and somehow made our little house feel like a home. But she had rules. Don't talk back. Don't question your elders. Don't bring shame on the family. I learned early that some things you just don't say out loud, even if they're true, especially if they're true. When I was 10 years old, something happened that I've never told anyone. Not Frank, not Rachel, no one. There was a man in our town, a deacon at the church. Everyone loved him. He was kind and generous and always had a smile. He used to give us kids candy after service. My mother thought he was wonderful. One day, he offered to drive me home from church because it was raining. I got in his car. He didn't take me home. He drove to a back road and he touched me. I won't go into details. But when it was over, he told me that if I said anything, no one would believe me. He said I was a good girl, and good girls don't tell lies about men of God. I believed him. I went home, and I never said a word. Not to my mother, not to anyone. I carried that secret for 62 years, and it ate at me. It taught me that bad things happen and you just have to survive them. You don't fight back. You don't tell. You just survive. But watching Rachel now, seeing her fear, hearing her say he still has the key, all of that came rushing back. That feeling of being small and powerless and trapped. The shame, the silence, the belief that no one would help even if I asked. I swore I would never let my daughter feel that way. I swore I would protect her better than I was protected. And yet here we were. History repeating itself, the same silence, the same shame, the same monster hiding in plain sight. I had failed her just like I had been failed, and that knowledge broke something in me, something that could never be put back together. I met Frank when I was 19. He was 22, a farm boy from a town even smaller than mine. He had kind eyes and rough hands, and he made me laugh. We got married 6 months after we met. People said we were rushing, but it felt right. Frank was gentle. He never raised his voice, never raised a hand. He treated me like I was something precious. For a long time, I thought that was enough. We tried for years to have a baby. Nothing worked. Doctors told us it probably wasn't going to happen. We made peace with it, built a life, just the two of us. We moved to Denver for work. Frank got a job in construction. I worked as a secretary. We saved money, bought a little house. We were happy. Or at least I thought we were. Then, when I was 51, I got pregnant. The doctor said it was a miracle. Frank cried, actually cried. I had never seen him cry before. We were terrified and thrilled all at once. Rachel was born healthy, 8 pounds 2 ounces, Dark hair and blue eyes. She was perfect. Frank used to sit in the rocking chair holding her for hours, just staring at her like he couldn't believe she was real. He called her his little miracle. We were older parents. People looked at us funny sometimes. Like we didn't belong, but we didn't care. We had our girl. That was all that mattered. Rachel was a happy baby. She laughed easy, slept well. As she got older, she was curious, always asking questions, always wanting to know how things worked. Frank taught her to ride a bike, to fish, to fix things. He was so patient with her. I taught her to read, to cook, to sew. We gave her everything we could: love, stability, a sense of safety. I thought that would be enough. I thought if we loved her hard enough, the world couldn't touch her. I was naive. The world always finds a way in. Frank had a heart attack when Rachel was 19. He had been feeling tired for weeks, but he kept saying it was nothing, just getting old. One Saturday morning, he went out to fix the fence and he collapsed. I found him 20 minutes later. I called 911, but it was too late. He was gone, just like that. No warning, no chance to say goodbye. Rachel and I were destroyed. Frank was the center of our world. Without him, we didn't know how to function. The house felt empty, too big, too quiet. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand the memories in every room. So I told Rachel we were moving. Fresh start. She didn't argue. I think she was as desperate to escape as I was. We moved to Boulder in January of 2017. It was cold, gray. The house was smaller than the one in Denver, but it was ours. Rachel got the job at the library. I tried to settle in, make friends. But I was lonely. I missed Frank. I missed the life we had. And I could see Rachel was struggling too. She missed her father, missed her friends, missed everything familiar. But I thought time would heal us. I thought we just needed to get through the grief and we'd be okay. I didn't realize that while I was focused on our pain, something else was happening. Something I couldn't see. I need to pause here. I need to catch my breath because what I'm about to tell you is hard. And I want to ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? What city? What state? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if it's late where you are, if you're watching this when you can't sleep, I understand that more than you know. Hit that like button if this story is touching you. Subscribe if you haven't already, because there's a new story here every single day. Stories that need to be told. Stories that might help someone. Maybe tomorrow's will be the one someone you love needs to hear. Okay, let me keep going. After Frank died, I tried to be strong for Rachel. I tried to be both parents. But I was drowning in my own grief. I stopped paying attention. I stopped seeing her, really seeing her. She became quiet, and I told myself it was normal. She stopped eating, and I told myself it was grief. She locked her door, and I told myself she needed privacy. Every red flag I explained away, because it was easier, because I was tired, because I didn't want to believe anything else could go wrong. I had already lost my husband. I couldn't handle the thought of losing my daughter too, so I buried my head in the sand and pretended everything was fine. There were people in Boulder who tried to help. Mrs. Nguyen from down the street brought us casseroles. She'd come by once a week to check on us. She always asked about Rachel, said she seemed sad. I told her we were working through it. The librarian where Rachel worked called me once, said Rachel seemed distracted, that she'd been showing up late, missing shifts. I made excuses, said she was still adjusting. Even the pastor at the church I started attending mentioned that Rachel looked troubled. Everyone could see it, everyone but me. Or maybe I could see it, but I didn't want to admit it, didn't want to face it. Because facing it meant something was terribly wrong and I didn't know how to fix it. Looking back now, I can see the pattern. The people who cared tried to tell me, but I didn't listen. I defended Rachel, defended our privacy, kept everyone at arm's length. I thought I was protecting her, protecting us. But really I was isolating her, making it easier for whoever was hurting her to keep doing it, because no one was watching. No one was asking hard questions. It was just me and Rachel in that house, and I was blind. Rachel started spending more time alone. She stopped going to the library some days, just stayed in her room. I'd knock and ask if she was okay, and she'd say she was sick. Headache, stomachache. I believed her. I made her soup, let her rest, didn't push. She started wearing long sleeves even in summer. I noticed, but I didn't ask why. She started showering multiple times a day, like I said, scrubbing her skin raw. I thought maybe she had some kind of obsessive-compulsive thing. Anxiety. I suggested therapy once, and she shut down, said she didn't need it. I didn't bring it up again. I should have insisted. I should have made her go. But I didn't want to fight. I was too tired to fight. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. I heard Rachel crying. Not loud, just soft sobs from her room. I got up and went to her door. I knocked, asked if she was okay. She said she was fine, just a bad dream. I stood there listening, wanting to go in, wanting to hold her. But the door was locked. I went back to bed, lay there staring at the ceiling. Something whispered in the back of my mind that this wasn't normal, that I needed to do something. But I didn't know what, so I did nothing. I rolled over and tried to go back to sleep. That moment haunts me. If I had pushed harder, if I had demanded she let me in, maybe I would have found out sooner. Maybe I could have stopped it before it got worse. Then I found the note. I'm sorry for being dirty. Those words wouldn't leave my head. I kept thinking about what dirty meant. Was it literal? Figurative? A metaphor for something I didn't understand? I wanted to ask Rachel, but I was afraid. Afraid of the answer. Afraid of making things worse. So I kept the note, hid it in my dresser drawer, carried the weight of it alone, just like Rachel was carrying her weight alone. We were both drowning in silence, both too afraid to speak. And whoever was doing this to her was counting on that, counting on our fear, our shame, our inability to face the truth. The night I heard the footsteps in the hallway changed everything. Knowing that someone had been in our house, that they had a key, that Rachel knew about it, that she had been living with this terror every single day. It broke me, but it also woke me up. I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep making excuses. My daughter was in danger, real danger. And I was the only one who could help her. So I called the police. At 3 a.m, I picked up that phone and I made the call. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely dial. But I did it. Because I had to. Because Rachel couldn't. When the police arrived, 2 officers showed up at my door. A man and a woman. Both young. Probably in their 30s. I let them in and sat them down at the kitchen table. I told them everything. About Rachel's behavior. About the note. About the man in the hallway. About the key. They listened, took notes, asked questions. The female officer's name was Martinez. She had kind eyes. She asked if Rachel would talk to them. I said I'd try. I went to Rachel's door and knocked, told her the police were here, that they wanted to help. She didn't answer at first. Then I heard the lock click. The door opened. Rachel stood there looking like a ghost, pale, hollow, terrified. Officer Martinez sat with Rachel in her room while the male officer, whose name was Davis, talked to me in the kitchen. He asked me if I knew who the man was. I said no. I hadn't seen his face. He asked if anyone else had a key to the house. I said no. Just me and Rachel. He asked if Rachel had mentioned anyone, a boyfriend, a friend, someone who made her uncomfortable. I said no. Rachel didn't talk to me about things like that. He nodded, wrote something down. Then he said, Mrs. Mitchell, I need you to understand something. If your daughter is being hurt, we'll do everything we can to help. But we need her to talk to us. We need her to tell us who it is. Can you help us with that? I said, I'll try. But I knew it wouldn't be easy. Rachel had been keeping this secret for a reason. She was scared. Maybe she'd been threatened. Maybe she blamed herself. Maybe she didn't think anyone would believe her. I didn't know. All I knew was that I had to find a way to reach her, to make her understand that she wasn't alone, that I would protect her, no matter what. Officer Martinez came out of Rachel's room 20 minutes later. She looked at me and shook her head. "She's not ready to talk," she said. But she did say something. She said she's afraid. I asked, afraid of what? Martinez said she wouldn't say, just that someone would get hurt if she talked. I felt my chest tighten. Someone would get hurt. That's what Rachel had told me, too. Who was she protecting, or who was she afraid of? The officers left, but said they'd be back. They told me to keep the doors locked, to call if anything happened, if I saw the man again, if Rachel changed her mind. I thanked them, closed the door, locked it, put the chain on, stood there for a long time staring at the lock, thinking about the key, about the man, about how easily he had walked in, like he belonged here, like this was his house. And then it hit me, like a punch to the stomach. This wasn't some stranger. This was someone who had been given access, someone I had let in, someone I trusted. I went back to Rachel's room. She was sitting on her bed, staring at the wall. I sat down next to her. I didn't say anything at first, just sat there. Then I took her hand. She didn't pull away. I said, "Baby, I know you're scared, but I need you to help me understand. Who is he?" She shook her head. "I can't tell you." I said, "Why not?" She looked at me, and her eyes were full of tears. "Because you'll hate me." My heart broke. I squeezed her hand tighter. "I could never hate you, Rachel. Never. You are my daughter. I love you, no matter what. Nothing will change that." She started crying. Really crying, sobbing. I pulled her into my arms and held her. She felt so small, so fragile, like she might break. I stroked her hair and whispered, "It's okay. It's going to be okay. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." We sat like that for a long time, until she calmed down, until she could breathe again. Then she pulled back and looked at me, and she said something that made the world tilt. "Mom, it's someone you know, someone you love. If I tell you, it will destroy everything. Someone I know, someone I love." My mind raced. Who could she mean? Who did I love? Who did I trust enough to give access to our lives, to our home? My family was small. My son Michael lived in California. He barely called. It wasn't him. Frank's brother was dead. My sister lived in Florida. We hadn't spoken in years. Who else? Who? And then I thought about something Rachel said. He still has the key. Not he has a key. He still has it, like it was his to begin with, like I had given it to him. And that's when the pieces started to come together. Slowly. Horribly. Like watching a car crash in slow motion. There was only one person I had given a key to recently. Only one person who had access to our house, who came and went freely, who Rachel would have been too afraid to accuse. Someone I trusted completely. Someone I had brought into our lives. Someone who had seemed like an answer to prayer, a helper, a friend, someone who had made himself indispensable, and someone I had never once questioned. My brother-in-law, Frank's younger brother, Martin, Frank's younger brother. The man who showed up at Frank's funeral with flowers and condolences and offered to help with anything we needed. The man who drove us to Boulder when we moved because he said the trip would be too hard for me to make alone. The man who helped us unpack boxes and set up furniture and hung pictures on the walls. The man who came by once a week to check on us. To fix things around the house, to make sure we were okay. The man I had thanked over and over for being so good to us, so helpful, so kind. The man I had given a key to 6 months ago because he said it would be easier. That way he could let himself in if we weren't home. If something needed fixing, if there was an emergency, the man who had a key to my house, to Rachel's room, to our lives. I sat on Rachel's bed, feeling like the floor had disappeared beneath me. My whole body went numb. Martin. It couldn't be Martin. Frank's brother. The man Frank had loved. The man who had stood beside us at the funeral and cried. The man who called me every Sunday to see how we were doing. Who brought groceries when I was too tired to shop. Who took Rachel to her doctor appointments when I couldn't drive. Martin, who everyone said was such a blessing, such a good man, taking care of his brother's family, making sure we were all right. Martin, who I had trusted with everything, with our home, with our safety, with my daughter. Rachel was watching me, waiting. She knew I had figured it out. I could see it in her eyes, that terrible knowledge we now shared. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. My throat had closed. My chest felt like it was being crushed. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All I could do was stare at my daughter and understand that, while I had been grieving my husband, while I had been trying to rebuild our lives, while I had been grateful for Martin's help, he had been destroying her, under my roof, in the room next to mine, while I slept, while I cooked dinner, while I sat in the living room watching television. He had been hurting my baby girl. How long? I finally managed to whisper. Rachel looked down at her hands. Since we moved here, 10 months. 10 months. My mind couldn't process it. 10 months of this, 10 months of terror, 10 months of him coming into our house, into her room, doing God knows what. And I had known nothing, seen nothing. I had invited him in, given him access, thanked him for his kindness. I felt bile rise in my throat. I ran to the bathroom and threw up, heaving into the toilet until there was nothing left, until I was just dry, sobbing over the bowl. Rachel appeared in the doorway. She didn't come closer, just stood there watching me fall apart. "I'm sorry, Mom," she said quietly. "I'm so sorry." I looked up at her. Sorry. She was apologizing to me, like this was her fault, like she had done something wrong. I pulled myself up, wiped my mouth, walked over to her and took her face in my hands. "You listen to me, Rachel Ann Mitchell. This is not your fault. Do you hear me? None of this is your fault. You have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing." She started crying again. "But I didn't tell you. I should have told you. I tried. I tried so many times, but I couldn't. I couldn't make the words come out. He said no one would believe me. He said you would think I was lying. He said it would kill you to know, and I couldn't do that to you. Not after losing Dad. I couldn't." My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. He had told her I wouldn't believe her. He had used my grief as a weapon, had made her think she was protecting me by staying silent. And I had been so lost in my own pain that I hadn't seen hers, hadn't seen what was right in front of me. I pulled her into my arms and held her tight. "I believe you," I said. "I believe every word. And I am going to make sure he never touches you again. I promise you, baby. I promise." She clung to me. We stood there in the bathroom doorway holding each other, both of us shaking, both of us broken, but together, finally, together in the truth. I need to stop for a moment. I need to breathe. Even now, years later, this part still destroys me. But I want to thank you for staying with me, for listening to this old woman's story. Where are you right now? What city are you in? Is it the middle of the night where you are? Are you alone? Tell me in the comments. Let me know you're there. And if someone you love has ever told you something that seemed impossible, something that made you want to look away, please don't. Believe them. Listen to them. It might save their life. Hit that like button if this is hitting home. Subscribe if you want to know what happened next. There's a new story every single day here. And maybe, just maybe, one of them will be exactly what someone needs to hear. Now let me tell you about the war I had to fight. The next few hours were a blur. I called Officer Martinez back, told her we needed to talk. She came within 30 minutes. This time Rachel spoke, not easily, not without tears. But she spoke. She told Martinez everything. How Martin had started coming into her room at night about a month after we moved. How at first he would just stand there, watching her. She thought she was imagining it, thought it was grief playing tricks on her mind. But then he started touching her hair, her shoulder, whispering things, telling her she was beautiful, that he had always loved her, that Frank would want him to take care of her. Take care of her. The words made me sick. Rachel said she tried to tell him to stop, tried to lock her door, but he had a key. He could come in whenever he wanted. She tried sleeping with a chair against the door, but he just moved it, quietly, carefully, like it was a game. She said she started staying awake all night, terrified of what would happen if she fell asleep. That's why she looked so exhausted all the time. She wasn't sleeping, couldn't sleep, because sleep meant being vulnerable, and vulnerable meant he would come. She told Martinez about the showers, how she felt dirty all the time, how she couldn't get clean no matter how hard she scrubbed. She showed Martinez the marks on her skin, red raw patches where she had scrubbed until she bled. Martinez took pictures, documented everything, asked gentle questions. Rachel answered as best she could. I sat there listening, each word a knife in my chest, each detail a new layer of horror. This had been happening in my house, right under my nose, and I had missed it all. Martinez asked why Rachel hadn't told anyone. Rachel explained that Martin had threatened her, said if she told he would say she was lying, that she was mentally unstable, grief-stricken, making things up for attention. He said he would tell everyone that she had tried to seduce him, that she was obsessed with him, that she couldn't handle losing her father and was projecting onto him. He said no one would believe a confused 21-year-old girl over a respected 58-year-old man. Frank's own brother. He said it would destroy me, that I would die of shame, die of heartbreak. And Rachel believed him, because why wouldn't she? He was an adult. He was family. He had all the power. Officer Martinez was incredible. She never once doubted Rachel, never questioned her story. She just listened, took notes, told Rachel she was brave, that she had done nothing wrong, that we were going to make sure Martin faced consequences. But then she said something that made my blood run cold. Mrs. Mitchell, I need to be honest with you. Cases like this are hard to prosecute. It's his word against hers. There's no physical evidence of assault, no witnesses, just Rachel's testimony. And defense attorneys are brutal. They'll tear her apart on the stand, make her out to be unstable, a liar, someone with a grudge. You need to be prepared for the possibility that he might walk away from this. No, I said. No, that's not acceptable. Martinez looked at me with sad eyes. I understand your anger, Mrs. Mitchell. I do. But I need you to understand how the system works. We'll do everything we can. We'll investigate. We'll interview Martin. We'll build the strongest case possible. But there are no guarantees. You need to prepare Rachel for that. And you need to prepare yourself. I wanted to scream, wanted to flip the table, wanted to burn the whole world down. But I didn't. I just sat there, numb, nodding, understanding that the system that was supposed to protect us might fail us, just like I had failed Rachel. Martinez left with a promise to follow up. She said they would bring Martin in for questioning, that they would investigate thoroughly, that they would do everything by the book. I thanked her, locked the door behind her, stood in the hallway trying to figure out what to do next. Rachel had gone back to her room. I could hear her crying through the door. I wanted to go to her, but I didn't know what to say, didn't know how to fix this. So I went to my room, sat on the edge of my bed, and I let myself fall apart. I cried for hours, big ugly sobs that shook my whole body. I cried for Rachel, for everything she had endured, for the childhood she had lost, for the trust that had been shattered. I cried for Frank, for the brother he had loved and trusted, for the betrayal that would have killed him if he had known. I cried for myself, for my blindness, my stupidity, my failure as a mother. I had one job, protect my child, and I had failed, spectacularly, completely, unforgivably. When I finally stopped crying, I felt empty. hollowed out, like there was nothing left inside me. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The house was silent, too silent. I thought about Martin, about all the times he had sat at my kitchen table, eaten my food, smiled at me, hugged me, told me everything would be okay. He had looked me in the eye, called me sister, promised to take care of us. And the whole time he was planning, plotting, waiting for his chance. He had used Frank's death as an opportunity, had swooped in like a vulture, pretending to help while he destroyed us from the inside. I thought about the key, how easily I had handed it over, how grateful I had been. He had asked so casually, said it just made sense. That way he could come by and fix things, even if we were out. Water the plants, check on the house. I had thought it was thoughtful, convenient. I had thanked him, had told Rachel, look how lucky we are to have Uncle Martin. Uncle Martin. The words tasted like poison now. I had told my daughter to trust him, to be grateful for him. I had delivered her to her abuser on a silver platter. The rage started then, deep in my gut. A hot, burning fury that spread through my whole body. I sat up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from anger, pure, righteous anger. Martin thought he could do this, thought he could hurt my child and get away with it, thought he was smarter than me, stronger than me, thought I would be too weak, too old, too broken to fight back. He was wrong. He had no idea who he was dealing with. I was a mother, and a mother protecting her child is the most dangerous thing in the world. I got up, went to my closet, pulled out a box from the top shelf. Inside was everything from Frank's funeral, programs, cards, letters, and at the bottom, Frank's journal. He had kept it for years, writing down thoughts, memories, family history. I flipped through it until I found what I was looking for. Entries about Martin. Frank had loved his brother, but he wasn't blind. There were passages about Martin's temper, his jealousy, his problems with women, times Martin had been fired from jobs, times he had been accused of inappropriate behavior. Nothing concrete, nothing proven, but a pattern, a history. Frank had written, I worry about Martin sometimes. He doesn't respect boundaries, doesn't understand no. I've tried to talk to him, but he doesn't listen. I hope he doesn't do something stupid one day. Frank had seen it, had known there was something wrong with Martin, and he had worried. But he had never imagined this, could never have imagined his own brother would hurt his daughter. I closed the journal, held it to my chest. I'm sorry, Frank, I whispered. I'm so sorry I let him in. But I'm going to fix this. I'm going to protect her. I promise you, I'm going to make him pay. The next morning I called a lawyer, a woman named Patricia Chen who specialized in family law and assault cases. She agreed to meet with me that afternoon. I brought Rachel. We sat in Patricia's office and went through everything again. Rachel's story, the timeline, the evidence we had, which was almost nothing. Patricia listened, took notes, then she gave it to us straight. This is going to be brutal, she said. Martin will deny everything. He'll have a good lawyer. They'll attack Rachel's credibility, her mental state, her motives. They'll say she's making it up, that she's angry about something, that she wants money, wants attention. The trial, if it even goes to trial, will be traumatic. Are you prepared for that? I looked at Rachel. She looked terrified, but she nodded. I'm prepared, she said quietly. I can't let him do this to someone else. I can't. Patricia smiled. You're brave, she said. Braver than most. Okay, let's build a case. Let's make it so strong that he can't wiggle out. Let's bury him. I liked Patricia. She was fierce, smart. She didn't sugarcoat things, but she didn't give up either. She believed Rachel, and she was ready to fight. Over the next few days, Patricia helped us gather everything we could. Phone records showing Martin's calls to our house, often late at night. Texts he had sent Rachel, innocent on the surface but with an undertone that made your skin crawl. Messages like, thinking of you tonight, or wish I could see you, or you looked beautiful today. Things that could be explained away as avuncular affection, but in context, with Rachel's testimony, they looked sinister. We got records from the hardware store where Martin had copied our key, proof that he had made a duplicate. We documented Rachel's medical records, her weight loss, her insomnia, her depression. We built a timeline, a picture, a case. But Patricia warned us it might not be enough. We need something more, she said. Something undeniable. Something he can't explain away. Do you have any recordings? Any physical evidence? Any witnesses? I said no. Nothing. Patricia frowned. Then we need to get creative. We need to catch him, make him confess, or at least make him slip up. She looked at me. Are you willing to do that, Mrs. Mitchell? Are you willing to go to war? I didn't hesitate. Yes, whatever it takes. Patricia laid out a plan. We would set a trap. I would call Martin, act normal, pretend everything was fine, invite him over, and we would record the conversation. Try to get him to say something, anything. That proved Rachel was telling the truth. It was risky. If he suspected anything, he would lawyer up, disappear. But if we could get him talking, get him comfortable, maybe he would slip. Maybe his arrogance would be his downfall. I made the call that night. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. Martin answered on the second ring. Hey, Diane, he said warmly. How are you? I forced myself to sound normal, cheerful even. I'm okay, Martin. Just wanted to see how you were doing. He said he was good, busy with work. Asked about Rachel. I said she was fine, just tired. He made a sympathetic noise. Poor kid. Still grieving Frank, I bet. I wanted to reach through the phone and strangle him, but I kept my voice steady. Actually, Martin, I was wondering if you could come by this weekend. There's something I need your help with. A leak in the bathroom. Of course, he said. I'll be there Saturday morning. Is 10 okay? Perfect, I said. See you then. I hung up, sat there staring at the phone. He had sounded so normal, so concerned, like he was still the good guy. Still Uncle Martin just trying to help. Saturday morning came. Patricia had given me a small recording device, told me where to hide it, how to activate it. Rachel stayed in her room. She couldn't face him, couldn't be in the same house. I didn't blame her. I could barely stomach it myself. At 10 o'clock exactly, there was a knock on the door. I took a deep breath, activated the recorder, opened the door. Martin stood there smiling. He looked the same as always. Jeans, flannel shirt, work boots, graying hair, kind eyes. He looked like someone's favorite uncle, like a good man. It made me sick. Hey, Diane, he said, pulling me into a hug. I forced myself not to recoil. Hey, Martin, thanks for coming. He stepped inside, looked around. Where's Rachel? I said she's resting, not feeling well. He nodded. Poor kid. She works too hard. I bit my tongue, led him to the kitchen, offered him coffee. He accepted. We sat at the table, two people who had known each other for decades, family, and I looked at him and saw a monster. We made small talk for a few minutes, the weather, his job, my health. Then I steered the conversation toward Rachel. I'm worried about her, Martin, I said. She seems so withdrawn, so sad. Do you think she's okay? He frowned, shook his head. I think she's still processing losing Frank. It's hard, especially at her age. I nodded. I just wish she would talk to me, but she keeps everything locked inside. You know. He leaned forward, his expression sympathetic. She's always been like that, though, even as a kid. Kept things to herself. You can't force her, Diane. She'll open up when she's ready. I took a sip of coffee. Steady. Stay steady. Has she talked to you at all, Martin? You two always seemed close. Something flickered in his eyes, just for a second. Then it was gone. We talk sometimes. Not about anything deep, just small stuff. Why? Do you think something's wrong? I shrugged. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a paranoid old woman. But sometimes I feel like she's afraid of something. Or someone. The room went very quiet. Martin's smile didn't waver, but his eyes changed. Hardened, afraid. What would she be afraid of? I met his gaze. I don't know, Martin. You tell me. He set his coffee cup down slowly, deliberately. Diane, what's going on? I said nothing, just held his stare. He laughed, a short, humorless sound. This is about those cops, isn't it? They came to see me, asked me a bunch of ridiculous questions, accused me of God knows what. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face blank. What did they accuse you of? He stood up, started pacing. They said Rachel made some kind of allegation, that I had been inappropriate with her. It's insane, Diane, completely insane. I would never. She's my niece, Frank's daughter. I love that girl like she was my own. I don't know why she would say something like that. Maybe she's confused, maybe grief has messed with her head. But I swear to you, I have never laid a hand on her. Never. I stood up too, faced him across the kitchen. She's not confused, Martin, and her head is fine. He stopped pacing, looked at me. You believe her, over me. I'm family, Diane. I've been here for you, for both of you. I've done everything I could to help. And this is how you repay me, by believing lies. I felt the rage rising again, threatening to boil over. But I kept my voice calm. They're not lies, Martin, and you know it. His face changed. The mask slipped, just for a moment, and I saw it. The coldness, the calculation, the contempt. Then he smiled again, but it didn't reach his eyes. You're making a big mistake, Diane. If you pursue this, if you let Rachel go through with whatever nonsense she's planning, it will destroy her. The courts will tear her apart. Everyone will know. Her friends, her co-workers, the whole town. They'll call her a liar, a troublemaker. Is that what you want for your daughter? It was a threat, thinly veiled, but a threat. I stepped closer to him. Let me make something very clear, Martin. I will do whatever it takes to protect Rachel. If that means going to court, if that means the whole world knowing what you did, then so be it. You're not going to scare me, and you're not going to hurt her ever again. He stared at me. Then he laughed, actually laughed. You really think you can win this? You're a 72-year-old woman with no proof, no evidence. Just the word of a disturbed girl against mine. Good luck with that. He walked to the door, turned back. You should have stayed out of it, Diane. Should have let sleeping dogs lie. Now you've made this a war, and trust me, you won't like how it ends. He left, slammed the door behind him. I stood there shaking, furious, terrified, but also triumphant, because the whole conversation had been recorded. Every word, every threat, every slip. I had him. Maybe not a full confession, but enough. Enough to show his character, his malice, his guilt. I called Patricia immediately, sent her the recording. She listened, called me back within an hour. This is good, she said. Really good. It shows motive, shows his awareness of the allegations, shows his willingness to threaten and intimidate. It's not a smoking gun, but it's ammunition, combined with Rachel's testimony, the timeline, the pattern. We have a case, a real case. I felt a surge of hope. Maybe we could win this. Maybe justice was possible. But Patricia's next words brought me back to earth. But Diane, you need to understand. He's going to fight dirty. He's going to come after you. After Rachel. He's going to try to destroy your credibility, your reputation. Are you ready for that? I thought about Rachel, about everything she had endured, about the fear in her eyes, the shame, the silence. I thought about the note. I'm sorry for being dirty. I thought about my promise, to Frank, to myself, to her. I'm ready, I said. Let him try. Martin hired a lawyer within 24 hours of our conversation. A man named Richard Brenner, who had a reputation for getting guilty men off on technicalities. Brenner sent Patricia a letter. It was full of legal language, but the message was clear. Drop this or we'll bury you. They threatened to sue Rachel for defamation, threatened to sue me for slander, threatened to drag us through the mud until there was nothing left. Patricia read the letter to me over the phone. Her voice was tight with anger. They're trying to intimidate you, she said, trying to make you back down. Don't let them. I won't, I told her. We're not backing down. But Martin wasn't done. Within a week, stories started circulating. I don't know how he did it. Maybe he had friends in the community. Maybe he just knew how to work people. But suddenly everyone was talking. I heard it at the grocery store, at church, at the post office. Poor Martin. His own niece accused him of terrible things. Can you imagine? After everything he's done for them. Some people said Rachel was mentally unstable, that she had always been strange. Others said I was a bitter old woman looking for someone to blame for my daughter's problems. A few even suggested we were after money, trying to extort Martin. The rumors spread like wildfire. And everywhere I went, I felt eyes on me, judging, whispering. Mrs. Nguyen stopped bringing casseroles. The pastor stopped calling. People I had considered friends crossed the street to avoid me. One woman I had known for months came up to me in the parking lot of the grocery store. She looked me right in the eye and said, "You should be ashamed of yourself. Destroying a good man's life with lies." I tried to explain, tried to defend Rachel, but she walked away. I stood there with my groceries feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my life. Rachel had it worse. She had to quit her job at the library, the whispers, the stares. It was too much. She couldn't handle it. She stopped leaving the house at all, just stayed in her room. I tried to encourage her, tried to tell her it would get better, but I could see her slipping away, the light in her eyes fading, the hope dying. One night I found her in the bathroom. She had a bottle of pills in her hand, just sitting there staring at them. I took the bottle, held her while she cried. She said, "Maybe Martin was right, Mom. Maybe this will destroy me. Maybe I should just let it go." I looked at her, this broken, beautiful girl, and I said, "No, we don't let monsters win, Rachel. We fight, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. We fight." But I was scared, terrified actually, because I didn't know if we were strong enough, didn't know if the system would protect us or fail us, didn't know if Rachel would survive this. She was fragile, hanging on by a thread, and every day that passed, every rumor, every accusation, every look, it pulled that thread a little tighter. I was losing her, and I didn't know how to save her. I'm going to pause here. I need to catch my breath. This part of the story is the hardest, the darkest, the part where I almost gave up. But I want you to know something. If you're going through something hard right now, something that feels impossible, you're not alone. Where are you watching from? What city? What time is it there? Tell me in the comments. Let me know you're out there. And if this story is making you feel something, if it's reminding you of your own battles, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to know how this ends, because it does end. And maybe, just maybe, it ends better than you think. There's a new story here every day. Stories about survival, about fighting back, about refusing to give up. Now let me tell you about the moment everything changed. The police investigation was moving slowly. Too slowly. Officer Martinez kept me updated, but there wasn't much to report. They had interviewed Martin. He denied everything. They had interviewed neighbors. No one had seen anything suspicious. They had searched our house, found nothing. No physical evidence, no DNA, nothing. It was exactly what Martinez had warned me about. His word against Rachel's, and in the court of public opinion, Martin was winning. Patricia filed a restraining order. The judge granted it. Martin was ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from Rachel and me, to have no contact, to surrender his key. But a piece of paper doesn't stop a determined man. And Martin was determined. He didn't come to the house, but he found other ways. Letters delivered to our mailbox, flowers left on the porch, messages passed through mutual acquaintances, Always the same theme. He was the victim. We were liars. He just wanted to reconcile, wanted his family back. It was gaslighting on a massive scale, and it was working. People believed him. Why wouldn't they? He seemed so sincere, so hurt, so wronged. I started having health problems. The stress was killing me. My blood pressure skyrocketed. I had chest pains. The doctor said I needed to reduce my stress or I was going to have a heart attack. I laughed, a bitter, hopeless laugh. Reduce my stress. How? How was I supposed to do that when my daughter was falling apart? When the man who hurt her was walking free? When the whole town thought we were monsters? The doctor prescribed pills. I took them. They didn't help. One night I couldn't sleep. I got up, went to the kitchen, made tea, sat at the table in the dark. I felt like I was drowning, like the weight of everything was pressing down on me, crushing me. I thought about giving up, about telling Rachel we should drop it, move away, start over somewhere else, somewhere Martin couldn't find us, somewhere no one knew our story. It would be easier, safer. We could disappear, change our names, build new lives. No one would have to know. But then I thought about the note. I'm sorry for being dirty. I thought about Rachel's face when she told me what Martin had done. The shame, the fear, the belief that it was somehow her fault. And I thought about all the other girls. Because men like Martin don't stop. If we let him get away with this, he would do it again. To someone else's daughter, someone else's niece, someone who might not survive it. We had a responsibility, not just to Rachel, but to every girl who might cross his path. We had to stop him, no matter the cost. I went to Rachel's room, knocked softly. She was awake. She was always awake. I sat on her bed, took her hand. I said, "Baby, I need to know. Do you want to keep fighting, or do you want to walk away? I won't judge you either way. This is your choice, your life. I'll support whatever you decide." She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "Mom, if we give up, if we let him win, then everything I went through was for nothing. All the fear, all the pain, all the nights I couldn't sleep. It will all have been for nothing. I can't let that happen. I have to see this through, even if it kills me. I have to." I pulled her into my arms, held her tight. "Okay," I said. "Then we fight. We fight until we win, or until there's nothing left to fight with. But we don't give up." She nodded against my shoulder. We don't give up. The next morning, Patricia called. She had news. Good news for once. The police had found something. Another victim. A woman who had worked with Martin 15 years ago. She had filed a complaint back then, accused him of sexual harassment. The case had been settled quietly. She had signed a non-disclosure agreement, taken a payout, disappeared. But Martinez had tracked her down, and the woman was willing to talk, willing to break her NDA, willing to testify. Her name was Linda. She was 40 now, married, had kids. She lived in Wyoming. Martinez and Patricia flew out to interview her. When they came back, Patricia called me immediately. "Diane, this is it. This is what we needed." Linda's story matches Rachel's almost exactly. The grooming, the manipulation, the threats, the gaslighting. Martin has a pattern, a history. This proves Rachel isn't lying. Proves she isn't the first. We can use this. I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Real tangible hope. Maybe we could win this. Maybe justice was possible. Patricia said she was filing a civil suit against Martin. For damages, for emotional distress, for everything he had put Rachel through. She was also pushing the district attorney to file criminal charges. With Linda's testimony, with the recording, with Rachel's statement. We had a case, a strong case. But then Martin made a mistake, a big one. He got arrogant, thought he was untouchable, thought he had won. He started showing up places he shouldn't, places that violated the restraining order. He drove by our house, slowly, staring. Officer Martinez caught him on the doorbell camera I had installed. She arrested him. Violation of a protective order. He spent a night in jail. His lawyer got him out, but the damage was done. The mask had slipped. People started asking questions, started wondering. If he was innocent, why was he violating court orders? Why was he stalking us? The tide began to turn. Slowly, but it turned. Then Linda went public. She did an interview with a local news station in Wyoming, told her story, named Martin. The story was picked up by a Denver station, then a national news site. Suddenly Martin wasn't the poor, wronged brother anymore. He was a predator with a history. Other women started coming forward. Not many, but enough. 3 more. All with similar stories, all saying Martin had harassed them, assaulted them, threatened them, paid them off, or scared them into silence. But now they were talking, and the world was listening. The district attorney called Patricia. They were filing charges, 3 counts of sexual assault of a minor. Rachel was a minor when the abuse started. She had just turned 21, but it had been going on for months before her birthday. That made it worse, made the charges more serious. Martin was arrested. His bail was set high. He made it, got out. But he was scared now. I could see it. His confidence was cracking. He wasn't the one in control anymore. We were. The trial was set for 6 months out, 6 months to prepare, 6 months to gather evidence, 6 months to get Rachel ready. Patricia worked tirelessly. Depositions, witness prep, strategy sessions. She was building an airtight case, and I was building my daughter back up, one day at a time, one conversation at a time, reminding her that she was strong, that she was brave, that she was believed. We started therapy, both of us, together and separately. Rachel needed to process the trauma. I needed to process the guilt. My therapist told me I couldn't blame myself, that I had done the best I could with the information I had, that Martin was a master manipulator who had fooled everyone. But it was hard to forgive myself, hard to look in the mirror, hard to accept that I had failed to protect the one person I loved most in the world. But slowly, very slowly, we started to heal. Rachel started sleeping better, started eating, started talking about the future. She enrolled in online classes, started working toward a degree. She made a friend, a girl from her therapy group who understood, who had been through something similar. They would meet for coffee, go for walks. It was small, but it was progress, and progress was everything. The day of the trial arrived. I woke up early, made breakfast. Rachel came out of her room dressed in a simple blue dress. Her hair was pulled back. She looked older, tired, but determined. We ate together, didn't talk much. There wasn't much to say. We both knew what was coming. We drove to the courthouse in silence. Patricia met us outside, went over everything one more time, what to expect, how to handle cross-examination, how to stay calm. Rachel nodded, said she was ready. I squeezed her hand. You've got this, baby. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. The courtroom was full. Press, spectators. Linda was there. The other women who had come forward, Officer Martinez, Mrs. Nguyen, who had apparently changed her mind about us. Even the pastor, all there to support Rachel, to witness, to see justice done, or at least to try. Martin sat at the defense table with Brenner. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. He didn't look at us, didn't acknowledge us, just stared straight ahead, expressionless. The trial lasted 3 days, 3 long, brutal days. Rachel testified first. She was incredible, calm, clear, detailed. She told her story without breaking down, answered every question, even the horrible invasive ones from Brenner. He tried to rattle her, tried to make her seem confused, unstable. But she held firm. I'm telling the truth, she said, over and over. I'm telling the truth. And the jury believed her. I could see it in their faces. Linda testified next. Then, the other women, each one adding another layer, another piece of the pattern. Brenner tried to discredit them, said they were looking for money, looking for attention. But it didn't work. There were too many of them. Too many similar stories. Too much evidence. The recording I had made was played in court. Martin's voice, cold, threatening, admitting he knew about the allegations, warning me to back off. It was damning. The prosecution rested. The defense put Martin on the stand. He denied everything, said Rachel was disturbed, that she had misunderstood his affection, that he had only ever tried to help. But under cross-examination he fell apart. Got angry, defensive, contradicted himself. The prosecutor tore him to shreds. By the time he stepped down, everyone in that courtroom knew. He was guilty. Absolutely guilty. Closing arguments. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, 4 hours that felt like 4 years. Rachel and I sat in the hallway, holding hands, praying, hoping. Finally, we were called back in. The jury had reached a verdict. We stood. The foreman read it out. Guilty, on all counts. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Rachel collapsed into my arms, sobbing, not from sadness, from relief, from vindication, from the weight of 10 months of terror finally lifting. I held her, crying too. We had won, against all odds, against a system that often fails victims, against a man who thought he was untouchable. We had won. Justice had been served. Martin was led away in handcuffs. He still didn't look at us. Sentencing would come later, but the prosecutor said she would push for the maximum. 15 years, maybe more with the multiple counts. He would be an old man when he got out. If he got out. And he would be a registered sex offender for the rest of his life. His life as he knew it was over. And I felt no pity. None. Only satisfaction. Only the fierce joy of a mother who had protected her child. Finally protected her child. 6 months have passed since the trial ended. 6 months since Martin was sentenced to 18 years in prison. 6 months since Rachel and I walked out of that courthouse knowing we had won, knowing we had survived. The world looks different now, brighter somehow, like a fog has lifted. Rachel is healing, not healed. Healing is a process, not a destination. But she's getting there, one day at a time, one step at a time. And I'm healing too. Learning to forgive myself. Learning to accept that I did the best I could with what I knew. Learning that being human means being imperfect, being flawed, being capable of missing things even when you're trying your hardest to see. Rachel moved back into her room, but we redecorated it completely. New paint, new furniture, new everything. She needed a fresh start, a space that didn't hold memories of him, of what he did. She picked out bright colors, yellow walls, white curtains, plants on the windowsill. It looks like hope now, like possibility. She still has nightmares sometimes, still has days when she can't get out of bed, when the weight of everything crushes her. But those days are getting fewer. The spaces between them are getting longer. She's laughing again, real, genuine laughter, the kind that lights up her whole face, the kind I thought I'd never hear again. She's back in school, online classes at first, but last month she enrolled at the community college here in Boulder. She's studying psychology, wants to help other survivors, other girls who went through what she went through. She says if she can turn her pain into purpose, then maybe it wasn't all for nothing. Maybe she can save someone else. I'm so proud of her, I could burst. This girl who was broken into pieces has put herself back together stronger than before. She's not the same person she was. She'll never be that innocent, trusting girl again. But maybe that's okay. Maybe she's better now. Wiser, fiercer, more resilient. She has friends now. Real friends. People who know her story and love her anyway. People who support her, believe her, stand with her. There's Emma from her therapy group who I mentioned before. And there's Josh, a boy she met in one of her classes. He's kind, gentle, patient with her. Doesn't push, doesn't pressure, just lets her set the pace. They've been on a few dates, coffee, movies, walks in the park. Nothing serious yet. But it's progress. It's Rachel learning to trust again. Learning that not all men are monsters. That vulnerability doesn't always lead to pain. I like Josh. He looks at her like she's something precious, something to be cherished, and that's exactly what she deserves. Our relationship has changed too. We're closer now, more honest. We talk about real things, hard things. We don't hide from each other anymore. I tell her when I'm struggling, when the guilt threatens to swallow me whole, and she tells me when she's scared, when the memories come back, when she wonders if she'll ever feel completely safe again. We hold each other up, two broken people learning to be whole again, together. I think in some ways the trial brought us closer than we've ever been, forced us to rely on each other, to be honest about our pain, our fear, our hope. I still think about Martin sometimes. I wish I didn't. I wish I could forget he ever existed. But he's there, in the back of my mind. A shadow I can't quite shake. I wonder what he thinks about in that prison cell. Does he have regrets? Does he understand the damage he caused? Does he lie awake at night thinking about Rachel, about Linda, about all the women whose lives he destroyed? Or does he still believe he's the victim? Still think he did nothing wrong? I don't know. And honestly, it doesn't matter. He's where he belongs, behind bars, away from vulnerable people, away from my daughter. The community's attitude toward us shifted after the trial, after the verdict. Suddenly, people who had crossed the street to avoid me were apologizing, saying they had been wrong to doubt us, to believe the rumors. Mrs. Nguyen brought over a casserole the week after sentencing. She cried, said she was sorry for abandoning us when we needed support. I forgave her. What else could I do? She didn't know. None of them knew. They believed what seemed believable. A respected man over a troubled girl. It's the story we've been taught to believe our whole lives, the one that protects predators and silences victims. But maybe, just maybe, things are starting to change. Before I go any further, I want to say something to you. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you. Thank you for staying with me through this whole story, through the darkness and the pain, and the moments when it seemed like hope was impossible. Where are you right now? What city are you in? Is it morning there? Is it late at night? Are you alone? Or is someone with you? Tell me in the comments. I want to know. I want to know that this story reached you, that it meant something. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's fighting their own battle, someone who thinks they're alone, share this with them. Let them know they're not alone, that survival is possible, that justice is possible. Hit that like button if this story touched you. Subscribe if you haven't already, because there's a new story here every single day. Stories about real people, real struggles, real survival. And maybe tomorrow's story will be exactly what you need to hear. I learned so much through this nightmare. About myself, about the world, about what it means to protect someone you love. I learned that trust is complicated, that the people who seem the safest can sometimes be the most dangerous, that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like family, like friends, like the people who bring you groceries and fix your leaky faucet and show up at your door with a smile. I learned that silence is a weapon, that secrets give power to abusers, that speaking up, even when it's terrifying, even when no one believes you, even when it costs you everything. Speaking up is the only way to stop them. I learned that the system is broken, that victims have to fight twice as hard as their abusers just to be heard, just to be believed. That court isn't about truth. It's about evidence, about lawyers, about who tells the better story. I learned that sometimes. Even when you do everything right, even when you fight with everything you have, sometimes you still lose. We were lucky. We had Patricia, we had Linda, we had evidence, we had a jury that chose to believe, but so many don't. So many victims never see justice, never get their day in court, never hear the word guilty. And that breaks my heart, because they deserve justice just as much as Rachel does. They deserve to be believed, to be protected, to be safe. I learned that guilt is a heavy burden, that even when something isn't your fault, even when you did the best you could, you still carry the weight of it. I still wake up some nights thinking about all the signs I missed, all the chances I had to see, to intervene, to stop it before it went as far as it did. My therapist tells me that's normal, that survivors and their families often carry guilt that doesn't belong to them, that the only person responsible for what happened is Martin. But knowing that intellectually and feeling it emotionally are two different things. I'm working on it, working on forgiving myself, on accepting that I'm human, that I can't see everything, know everything, prevent everything. It's hard, but I'm trying. I learned that healing isn't linear. It's not a straight line from broken to whole. It's messy, complicated, full of setbacks and breakthroughs and days when you feel like you're right back where you started. Rachel has good days and bad days. Days when she's strong and confident and ready to take on the world, and days when she can't get out of bed, when the memories are too much, when the fear comes rushing back. Both are valid. Both are part of the process. I learned to stop expecting her to be okay all the time, to stop putting pressure on her to heal faster, to just be present, to hold her when she needs holding, to give her space when she needs space, to trust that she's doing the best she can, just like I am. I learned about the power of community, of the people who stand with you when everything falls apart. Patricia, who believed us when no one else did, who fought for Rachel like she was her own daughter. Officer Martinez, who never gave up, who tracked down Linda, who built the case that brought Martin down. Linda herself, who broke her NDA, who risked everything to help a girl she'd never met. The other women who came forward, who added their voices to Rachel's, who said, "Me too. We too." You're not alone. Emma and Josh, who gave Rachel friendship and normalcy and a reason to keep going. Even Mrs. Nguyen, who came back, who admitted she was wrong, who showed up with casseroles and apologies and support. These people saved us, reminded us that goodness exists, that not everyone is a monster, that there are still people in this world who care, who help, who fight for what's right. The symbolic object that started all of this, the note that said, "I'm sorry for being dirty." I still have it. It's in a box in my closet, along with other things from that time. Court documents, news clippings, letters from supporters. I don't look at it often. It hurts too much. But sometimes I take it out, read those words. And instead of seeing shame and guilt, instead of seeing a girl who thought she was dirty, I see evidence. I see the first crack in the wall of silence. I see the beginning of Rachel finding her voice. That note was her crying out, her trying to tell someone even when she couldn't say the words out loud. And it worked. It led me to the truth. It started the chain of events that ended with Martin in prison and Rachel free. So maybe, in a strange way, that note saved her life, saved us both. If you're still with me, if you've listened to this whole story from beginning to end, I want to ask you one last thing. If you really heard me, if you really listened, leave a comment with the word guardian. Only those who truly stayed until the end will understand why that word matters. Because that's what I am. That's what every parent, every grandparent, every person who loves a child is supposed to be. A guardian, a protector, someone who stands between danger and the innocent. Someone who fights even when it's hard, even when it's terrifying, even when the monster looks like family. We are guardians, and we cannot fail. Subscribe if you haven't already, please. There's a new story here every single day. Stories about survival, about justice, about refusing to give up. And maybe one of those stories will save someone's life. Maybe someone watching needs to hear that they're not crazy, that their gut feeling is right, that they should trust themselves, that they should speak up, that they should fight. Maybe you're that person, or maybe you know that person. Either way, share this. Let people know these stories exist, that these conversations are happening, that survivors are speaking and the world is finally starting to listen. I'm 72 years old now, 73 in a few months. I don't know how many years I have left. Could be 5, could be 20, could be tomorrow. None of us know. But I know this. I will spend whatever time I have making sure Rachel is okay, making sure she knows she's loved, believed, supported, protected. I failed her once. I won't fail her again. She is my world, my purpose, my reason for getting up every morning, and I will guard her with everything I have until my last breath. That's what mothers do. That's what guardians do. We protect, we fight, we never give up, even when it costs us everything, even when we're scared, even when we don't know if we're strong enough. We fight because love demands it, because our children deserve it, because it's the next right thing. Thank you for listening to my story, for staying with me through the darkness, for witnessing Rachel's courage and survival, for being part of this community that refuses to let victims suffer in silence. Where are you watching from? Tell me one more time. Drop a comment. Leave the word guardian if you heard me, if you understood, if you're ready to be a protector too. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Share this story with someone who needs it, and come back tomorrow. There's a new story every day, a new survivor, a new battle, a new victory, because these stories need to be told, these voices need to be heard, and together, one story at a time, one voice at a time, we can change the world. We can make it safer, kinder, more just. We can be the guardians our children need us to be. From this old woman's heart to yours. Thank you. Take care of each other out there. Protect the innocent, believe the victims, fight the monsters, do the next right thing, and never, ever give up, because hope is real, healing is possible, justice can win. We proved it, Rachel proved it, and you can too. God bless you. Stay safe. And I'll see you tomorrow with another story, another truth, another reminder that you are not alone. None of us are alone. We have each other. And together, we are unstoppable. Goodbye for now. And remember, always remember, you are a guardian. Act like it.